Hey everyone, you're listening to the Spill Session, where every tear has meaning, every story matters, and everyone is seen. The main topic is narcissism. I'm Katie, and this is Rosie.
Hey everyone.
We're here to talk about narcissistic abuse. Rosie and I met and we were neighbors, but then life got busy for us and we reconnected. And then we realized how parallel our lives really are. Our journey has led us to create this podcast in hopes of bringing more awareness and providing a safe, supportive space to share stories, insights, and real conversations.
So, you've probably heard the term narcissist before. The term is thrown around in pop culture, memes, or casual conversations without context or knowledge of what it really means. Narcissistic abuse? That's something much, much deeper. It's much darker, and far too often it's misunderstood or missed altogether. It's shunned, made fun of, disbelieved, even invalidated. Narcissistic abuse is emotional and psychological manipulation carried out by someone who seeks control and connection. It doesn't always come with bruises, it comes with confusion, self doubt, and a slow erosion of who you are. You lose yourself. After some time, you don't even recognize yourself. At first, being linked to someone like this can feel like love. They might praise you, pursue you intensely, or even put you on a pedestal. But over time, that pedestal becomes a trap. The compliments turn into criticism, the warmth turns cold, and you start walking on eggshells. You told it's your fault. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. You're crazy. The abuser may isolate you, compare you with others, or compete with you, give you the silent treatment, and pull you into cycles of hope. They make you believe that they're just having a bad day, but they still love you, and you're the monster. When in reality, this relationship is not just toxic, it's traumatic. And here's the thing, anyone can be a target. No, it's not your fault. It's not a matter of you being dumb. Narcissistic abuse doesn't just destroy relationships, it distorts your sense of self, worth, and feeling of being lovable. You're left with feelings of anxiety, depression, PTSD, and have a hard time trusting others. Recognizing it is the first step towards freedom and healing. On this episode, and in this podcast, we're validating the pain and beginning this journey alongside you. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or unsure of your reality, we want you to know that you are not alone. This is the Spill Session, and this is where your healing begins.
Let's dive deeper into what the Spill Session is really all about. This podcast isn't about just telling stories, it's about giving voices to the ones that are silenced. Our mission is simple but powerful to help people recognize narcissistic abuse and to walk alongside victims and survivors as they find their strength, rebuild their lives, and learn to thrive again. We believe in creating a space that's grounded in five core values: awareness, empathy, empowerment, community inclusion, and growth and healing. Awareness, because naming and realizing the abuse is the first step to breaking free. Empathy, because survivors deserve to be believed and held with compassion. Empowerment, because healing isn't just surviving, it's taking your life back. Community and inclusion, because no one should have to walk this journey alone, and everyone belongs here, no matter their background, identity, or story. Growth and healing, because even from the deepest pain, beauty and strength can rise. If you'd like to explore our mission and these values further, we invite you to visit us at www.thespillsession.com. Now let's get into our stories.
On my end, I didn't really recognize any patterns while I was dating or even married to my ex husband, who will remain unnamed for now. I recognized that I was being abused in the thick of the pandemic, mainly because I would feel extremely anxious, like I was walking on eggshells. I didn't know what to expect, and it just felt wrong and off. I began to think that I was the problem. I was always angry. I was always told what was wrong with me, and I believed it. Do you ever feel like that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I think for me, the patterns were very similar. And I was thinking back to when we really first started dating. I really didn't see any of the red flags. It just kind of came over time. But Definitely in the beginning, there were flags I just ignored. And then over time, I did think I was the monster. I thought I was the problem.
I completely feel that. So, in the beginning of my relationship with my ex, and divorced, by the way, I've been divorced almost 4 years, separated almost five. It doesn't feel that long, to be honest, but leaving that relationship was probably one of the best things I did for myself. And I didn't recognize that it was specifically narcissistic abuse until I read a book by Dr. Ramani, and we can share her information at a later point because we will discuss some of the things that I have learned and I have shared with Katie about this book. But for now, I just want you to understand our stories because they are very important, and understanding how difficult this is for us to speak about. But because we feel very passionate about bringing awareness to this topic, bringing our stories to light, and sharing them in hopes that it reaches other people that don't recognize these patterns, it means a lot to both of us. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I think
Katie.
I think that that's a big thing is not knowing you're in a relationship with a narcissist. I did not recognize any of the signs or patterns until I started talking with Rosie, and then we realized how parallel our lives were and our situations and experiences were. I'm still married. It's a challenge I'm working through. There's a lot that I've learned from Rosie, and I think the biggest thing is just awareness. I feel for her because I keep telling her she didn't have a Rosie to help her through this. She helped me see the light and the signs, and that I wasn't the monster. I really did think that I was in the wrong and couldn't do anything about it.
And just so you all know, there is always something you can do about this, and it begins with you. I understand that there's situations in which you can't leave. In my specific situation, I had to do it methodically. I had to give up a lot of myself, both financially and emotionally and mentally, and I did that for many years. I am still trying to fully heal myself and understand what the abuse was, what led me there, how it started, understanding my inner child and the healings I have to do there. But for narcissistic abuse specifically, it wasn't until I decided to go that I realized that's what it was. It was a hard pill to swallow, and sometimes I go back into a rabbit hole and think I'm the problem. But what I will say is that narcissists have no empathy. And knowing that, and knowing that my ex husband is in a relationship where he treats his current partner like shit, drives that home even more. And how do I know that? Unfortunately, we parallel parent, I co parent two children. And I still feel a lot of anxiety for the times my children go to his home. He had a lot of road rage. Apparently, he still does. It scares my kids. But I've had to let go of some of that control in order to take my life back. And my current story is what I share with Katie during our walks, because we do go on walks to get some exercise and for our mental health too. And that's where our journey started towards building this podcast. And like Katie said, and I appreciate this and value this so much about our friendship, that I was able to help her. And in one of our walks, I told her, I want to help others. It brings me peace, joy, and value to be able to do that. And that is my hope. And I think she resonated with that and wants to do the same.
Yeah, I think we we really want to build a community because nobody should be doing this alone. And also because it's very simple to miss the signs, not realize what you're in until it's too late and you're basically drowning in it. Everybody deserves to feel heard and be seen. And I really think Rosie, with all of our core values, she really showed me all of our core values, and that's why it's important to us. Awareness, empathy. She showed me empathy. We empower each other. And really, it's what we need for healing. You need a community. You need people that are going through similar situations, and they're not all going to be the same. And that I appreciate between her and I too, is we can share the differences, and we want to reach out to everyone else and share that too.
And it's okay if you just want to tune in and understand your life story. But also, we encourage you to contact us if you ever feel the need to speak to someone. One of the things I went through throughout the course of my abuse and subsequent separation and divorce was seeing this out alone. Um, I'm originally from New York and I moved to Florida with my then husband to try to build a better life for our children. And we had a couple of, well, what I thought were a couple of good years, but unfortunately, who he really was did not go away. One of the biggest things that I refused to see in the very beginning was anger, um, his road rage, his way of having a temper tantrum, so to speak. It brought me out of character at times. I exhibited a lot of anger and I held a lot of resentment, and I learned that I already had resentment from my childhood, and this just made it tenfold. One other thing I can think of is I always felt unlovable. I never felt like enough, and no one should ever feel that way. And so when Katie has shared some things with me, I wanted to make her feel like she was worth something, that someone shouldn't erode her confidence and her self worth, and she should always feel good about herself. And when you're so damaged by the things someone tells you, because let's be real here, narcissistic abuse is abuse. It's not a scar that you see, it's not a bruise. And there are some of you out there that do have those things. My ex-husband hit me one time on vacation, no less. And I remember what led to that. It was a temper tantrum that I tried to get under control. And what did I do? I threw a water bottle towards him, something I would never think about doing, but I didn't know how to get him to stop, and I didn't know why he was having a temper tantrum. And it hurt me in more ways than one, emotionally, mentally, um, physically. Our kids were asleep, so they never saw it. And I had no one to tell. I had no one to tell at all. I spent many years not saying a word. But I will say that there were some friends of mine that saw some things in him and would ask me when would I leave, and I would just ignore it. I'd say no, nothing was wrong. Everything was great. It's difficult. And Katie, with you being in the thick of it right now, I know we've shared some similarities in this regard where you just feel stuck and you feel like there's no way out. What do you say to people that feel that way?
I think that's why, I think that's a big part of us being here. You need someone. I feel like everyone kind of needs someone that they can talk to. You didn't have a Rosie, you didn't have someone you could tell, and it really helped me. So I think being in the thick of it, you've helped me realize that I can. You have to want it. You have to be able to recognize it. And I was feeling so unworthy. I wasn't worthy of anything more. I was getting what I was deserving, and I was the bad guy. Nobody else is ever gonna see that differently. Everyone's gonna see me as the bad guy. But you've helped me see that I wasn't the bad guy. I was in a narcissistic relationship and I was being emotionally abused. And it wasn't just you telling me that, I was hearing it from therapists too. And it made me see the situation for what it was. So once you recognize it and you're aware of it, I think it made it very easy to understand that it's something I have to get out of. And I do feel stuck sometimes, but I also have a light at the end of the tunnel now. I have a goal. I know I can do it thanks to your help and support and cheering me on and showing
You
me the light.
definitely need a cheerleader.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're here for. So,
We're
yeah.
here to be your cheerleaders as well as give you insights and you're not wrong. If you're feeling like you're wrong, more than likely you're not.
Yeah. And you
Uh,
can do it. You can get out. You're not stuck. You
stuck.
just have to find the way. And it might take time. I'm learning it's going to take time, but I feel relieved to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And sometimes you'll take a step back because that's part of the journey. The journey you have is long and hard. It's not easy. It's not linear.
Baby
It,
steps.
it's, yes, baby steps. It's a roller coaster. You'll have highs and lows. But I think the important thing here is to find help. What that means is seek support in your friends, find someone you can trust, find someone that's not going to judge you. That's very important. If you feel judged for doing this, if you're out to, if they make you out to be dumb, some people don't understand that
Or they don't believe you.
or they don't believe you because you don't have any scars or bruises, or, you know, at times you have to report things to law enforcement and even that can go sideways.
That's scary.
There is help out there. And my, solution was not and is not one size fits all. It was very, very methodical. And I'm sure I will talk about how I did that because we do have another episode coming out about divorce and narcissism sometime in the future. But to not take away from what we're talking about right now, we want you to understand that narcissistic abuse is very real. And it really isn't what you see on social media. It really isn't, people telling you it doesn't exist, because I've been told that.
Mhm.
When I've tried to share my story, I have been told, "Are you sure?" or "Fast."
Everybody throws the term around so loosely.
Unfortunately, that is the truth. And, when you look at the term narcissist, or it coming from narcissus, it's egotism, vanity. And really, it can be part of it. It is a narcissistic trait, but ultimately, there is so much more than that. And I like to think of the main thing I saw, which was a lack of empathy when I think of narcissism. And not saying that some people that lack empathy are narcissists, there is a lot more to it than that. And this book, Should I Stay or Should I Go by Dr. Ramani, which we can talk about in another episode, shares so much insight into what to look for. It asks you a series of questions about what you're going through, and it gives you somewhat of a scoreboard or scorecard so that you know whether or not you are dealing with a narcissist. If you feel like you're going crazy, that's also a sure sign. Narcissists gaslight the shit out of you.
Yeah.
You question your reality. They call you names, insult you, blame you for everything. I was blamed left and right.
Same.
Katie and I were talking about situations where both of our husbands, mine being the ex, um, blame the kids for us not being close anymore.
Yeah, I'm still getting that.
My ex-husband would think that we weren't lovey-dovey because I paid more attention to the kids.
They came first, so that destroyed the marriage. But that's not actually the case.
Right. And it makes you feel guilty because in a real loving relationship, it would have been nice to get help.
Mhm.
I, I see this in Katie. I was doing everything for those kids, and I still do everything for those kids. We share custody, and I'm still the only one taking them to appointments.
It's never 50-50.
And for those of you that are in situations like this where you are parenting with a narcissist, there is a lot more to dig into with that. But Just know that in a healthy relationship, so for you survivors out there, as well as you victims, when you look forward, don't think that because someone is not giving you 50%, that they're a narcissist. Because true partnerships will always have someone that is maybe giving you 70%, and maybe you're only capable of 30. As long as you guys flip the script and you're able to
Work
see
together.
work together and see each other through, that's all that matters. In a narcissistic relationship, it was not like that for me at all. It was just all of the weight fell on me.
Same. Same for me. I think that's really that's a big point about the whole thing too. They
Feeling alone.
yeah. And different motivations. The narcissists are motivated differently. And that's another thing is motivation. But that's a whole different podcast.
So, are you talking about the sex
Yeah,
talk?
motivating them.
You want to talk about that a little bit more? Because I can too, but I want to give you a chance to share your story too.
Uh yeah, I think a whole going sticking with the whole point of them not really doing much is then they tell you, well, you don't motivate me. Why should I have to motivate you? Nobody motivates me. And I really didn't even understand what that meant until Rosie told me that by motivation it probably meant I wasn't putting out. And so he wasn't motivated to do anything for me, I guess. And I guess narcissists need that kind of motivation.
They need supply.
Yeah.
What you are out there. And just to be clear, I think one thing Katie and I didn't divulge on earlier is that we're not specific to women. Men, we know that you are abused too.
Mhm.
And we know you are silenced more and don't have a voice. If some of this resonates with you, let it. In our case, obviously, neither one of us are lesbian. So well, I was married to a man, and Katie's currently married to a man. My ex-husband wouldn't say motivate me, but he would grab at me, just touch me, and I would be repulsed because I didn't feel like I had a partner. And in those situations, that's where he would insert, you care more about these kids or you love these kids more than you love me. They're in the way. And at the time, my youngest would sleep next to me because he was afraid of the dark. And I get it. Over time, kids need to sleep in their own room, in their own beds. But I also feel that kids are only kids once. And maybe we didn't align on things in the past, on how to parent, but ultimately that wasn't the discussion here. The discussion was that he shifted blame on two innocent children that had nothing to do with our marriage.
Yeah, I'm going through the same exact thing. It doesn't lead to the downfall. It wasn't the exact blame. It wasn't the only thing to be blamed. It wasn't really anything to be blamed. You have to take care of your children too. And I go through the same thing. And he blames them not sleeping in the same bed or but there were problems before that. And
Definitely.
the way they treat you, you don't want them in the same bed.
And these problems come before children. The red flags I missed, actually, I'll share this, and this is maybe TMI or vulnerable. And it is scary to share so much information, but one of the first things that came about when I first saw his anger was due to sex. He got frustrated with me because it wasn't happening. And Katie and I also have talked about demisexuality, and that can be a whole episode on its own without talking about narcissism. But I identify as a demisexual, and that's also something I learned later in life. I need an emotional connection to be able to have sex with someone. And at the time, I felt pressured, and that pressure led to anger. And that should have been the first red flag I saw. because it did not go away. And guess when I saw that? Literally a month into the relationship. Not even that long. And one thing I share with Katie and share with other friends of mine is that people can't hide who they really are for very long. We can be, I'll speak for myself here. I call myself naive, and maybe that's not the correct term, but there was so much I needed to learn about life and romanticism and myself. And ultimately, I just really wanted someone to love me, and I wanted to please him, not just sexually, but as a person. I wanted to make him happy, and I thought that my happiness would come from making him happy. And sadly, with a narcissist, and Katie, I don't know if you can agree with this, there's no making them happy. There's no amount of things you can do, things you can say to make them happy.
They'll always focus on the negative and blame. They have to have someone to blame.
And criticize.
Mm-hmm.
My body was consistently criticized. I felt disgusting. I felt like I was never enough. My mind and body were just shit. And, ultimately I didn't feel unworthy. I just felt unlovable. I grew up thinking that I was never enough too in different facets. And, in a later episode, we'll talk about how our upbringings are a part of this. Um, how we grow up, how we're treated by our parents, our environments in school, the societal expectations, they're all part of it. They are all part of what lead to narcissistic relationships, because what narcissists do in the beginning, in my case, my ex-husband made me feel like I was special. He made it seem like the person I was seeing at the time when I first met my ex-husband, so I was dating someone else. That guy didn't pay much attention to me, but I was always one to people please. He said I didn't deserve that. And so I was like, wow, maybe this other guy is going to love me right. And he was very nice to me, would compliment me even. And maybe that was the only time he ever truly complimented me consistently. And like I said, all it took was a month to see his rage.
And mine was different. Mine was the opposite. It was, I didn't feel worthy. So I didn't feel worthy of anybody that was going to give me the time, the attention, the love that I felt I wasn't worthy of. So when I first met mine, he wasn't showering me with affection, love, attention. There was no love bombing. I felt it was safe because it was all I deserved. And that's where I should have been. And that's the unworthy that I felt kind of from my upbringing.
And your story matters too. Whoever you are out there, it might not have been you feeling unworthy or unlovable. Maybe you just feel different. Maybe you long for attention and love and affection, and you think that this is all there is to it. This is the best thing ever. And even though you see glimmers of this and you return to the narcissist after a fight because they love bomb you or compliment you or tell you that things will change, the fact of the matter is that they won't change. They don't have it in them to change. Um, Narcissistic personality disorder is real, and unfortunately, it gets underdiagnosed because narcissists, whether male or female, don't admit to being wrong.
Ever.
Like you said, they shift the blame,
Mm-hmm. It's not them that's the problem. It's always someone else.
and the someone else is either you, kids, your family. Um, hey, I'm even the problem in Katie's relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and my upbringing. Rosie and my upbringing are the problem in my relationship and my children. Nothing has to do with him.
I heard something similar towards the end of my marriage from my ex-husband. He said I was influenced by a friend, and even though I didn't have a lot of support on how to get out of the relationship, this one friend was going through a lot of similar things, and um she's still actually in her relationship, but I I guess I got comfort from knowing that I wasn't alone, and the comfort I got from that was that I guess all men are the same. I mean, if I'm not alone in this regard, and I didn't even know my ex was a narcissist at that time. I just thought, oh, well, this is what a guy does, and I just have to put up with it. And, because I don't want to be alone, or I don't want my children to be fatherless, or, I don't want to get divorced. This is what it is.
I think considering everybody stays for different reasons, some don't have resources, some blame themselves, but I think staying because you're blaming yourself makes it even more unhealthy.
Most definitely. And continuing to feel like you have nowhere to go or you have no other choices leads to that issue, an endless cycle. But know out there that there are resources and there is help, and always try to find someone you can trust. I think support, whether it's a third party or a friend or even family, I think seeking that village that you need will definitely help in the long run.
I think that's why it's so important to recognize what you're in when you're in it. And it's very simple to miss it and think that you're the problem. So, with that, we're out of time on the spill session. Don't forget to subscribe and tune into our socials for engaging content, and you'll find our next podcasts on our socials, where to access them. Our next episode is going to be about understanding the basics of narcissistic abuse, and we'll get through all the factual stuff, and then we'll be able to really get into our own personal stories. And if you have anything that you want us to talk about or you need support, just feel free to contact us.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in about a week.
Thank you.